up, everybody, and welcome to the P.L.U.R Podcast. I am Give Me P.L.U.R. I just wanted to take a few minutes to explain what this podcast is about, let you know a little bit about me and what the future episodes will kind of look like. So for those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Give Me P.L.U.R. I'm a freelance model, raver, EDM influencer, and entrepreneur. I own a female rave clothing brand called Pretty Rave Girl. It's supposed to launch in 2020 in the beginning of the year. I'm a U.S. Army combat veteran. I did one tour to Afghanistan, Kandahar, RC South, Pasab, and I just turned 26 this past Sunday. I currently go to Illinois Media School. It's a school that teaches you how to do radio broadcasting and television, and it's really awesome. I'm enjoying myself. It's kind of the reason why I'm doing a podcast in the first place. I never thought to do one before, but this school has influenced me to do so. I was born and raised in Chicago. I currently live in Chicago, and I love it here. I don't think I'm moving anytime soon. I've been raving since I was about 19 years old, so I'd say about 7 years I've been raving, and I love everything about the EDM rave lifestyle. I love it all. I love the music. I love fashion. I love culture, the way the people treat each other, the way people just behave with one another, the interactions. It's just pure love. And it's something that I wanted to be a part of before I even knew what EDM was. I just knew that I loved the music. When I first heard EDM, I just felt this connection, like I belonged. I felt like I was supposed to be listening to it for the rest of my life. I don't know how to describe it. But moving on, my favorite subcategories are hardstyle and house music, of course, because I live in Chicago. I better be a house head. So I love house music and hardstyle. And over the past few years, I've been going to raves and EDM shows, and I've been meeting people. And one thing that has stuck out to me is the P.L.U.R lifestyle. Peace, love, unity, respect. And it is a way of life. It's not just a handshake. It's not just a way to trade candy. And it has kind of gotten away from its older meaning, dealing with drugs. It's more so about connection and community and getting to know one another, leaving a piece behind so that someone can remember you by, or accepting a piece so that you could remember someone else, or remember the experience that you had with that person for a lifetime. So I really am in love with the P.L.U.R lifestyle. I try to encompass it throughout my daily life, and I want this podcast to be a platform where I spread P.L.U.R and I teach people how to live by it and how to just practice it in their day-to-day lives. I think that P.L.U.R is the one thing that makes EDM culture, rave culture, its own unique thing, because if you take away P.L.U.R, all you have is just another concert that you're going to. P.L.U.R makes us special, and it's something that we need to practice every day. So really, some of the things that you'll hear on this podcast is me basically trying to cross a bridge and connect our rave life to our regular life, because that's the only way you can truly be P.L.U.R is to be balanced, not to compartmentalize your rave life and your regular life. And I'm going to try to teach people how to do that. And I also want to talk about controversial topics dealing with race, gender bias, and subgenre and festival cliques, because yes, we are P.L.U.R and that's really what I want to focus on, but there's a lot of shady shit that goes on in the rave scene that's not fair, and that is kind of just uncomfortable, and it makes people feel uncomfortable, and we're going to talk about those things. And not only am I going to voice my opinion, I also want to invite others on my show to express their opinions and their feelings about the controversial topics that we'll discuss. Remember, if you'd like to send me any suggestions for topics or any EDM rave related advice, please send an email to the P.L.U.R Podcast at givemepl.com. So without further ado, let's get into the show. This is the P.L.U.R Podcast, episode 1. What's up, GMP gang? It's your girl, Give Me P.L.U.R, and coming up on this episode, we'll discuss the positives and the negatives to getting older in the rave scene. All that and more on the way. What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the P.L.U.R Podcast. So today we're going to talk about getting old as fuck. So in the rave scene, you know that everybody is all ages. Nobody really discriminates. We actually praise older ravers because they started the movement, and, we're just all welcoming. And there are even some festivals that even have all ages, like Burning Man, for instance. And it's just like, it's not a big thing, but really when it comes to actually partying, it is a big thing. So I just turned 26 myself, and I don't feel old, but I just really feel kind of like out of the loop sometimes when certain like songs get played and I don't, I don't know what they are, or I'm kind of like late on stuff within the rave scene because I have a regular life. Like I have a job that I have to focus on. I have a career that I'm trying to pursue. So, I just feel kind of out of the loop. And then eventually, I'm 26. I think I want to have kids maybe when I'm 30 years old. I don't know. I'm still trying to decide. But anyway, the reason for this topic, the reason why I want to talk about it is because I read this post in this Facebook group. I'm not going to mention their name, but I read this post and it really just hit home. So here it is. Hey, ladies. I was wondering how many of you are over 35. I myself just turned 35, and well, I feel it is harder and harder to go to shows. Festivals are no issue. I just feel old, and I'm usually the sober one, or soberist, lol. So it's like something stops me from having fun at small shows. Advice? Question mark. So basically, I read this, and it really hit home because I'm not 35. I just turned 26 though, October 13th, and I feel older, and not in a sense where like I feel like I have less stamina, which is partly true because I really can't party like I used to when I was like 17, but I feel older as far as more responsibility, more body changes, more anxiety, just more thoughts that pass through my mind because I'm older and because I want to do more things and be more accomplished. But sometimes raving can set you back, whether it be financially or spiritually or physically, because sometimes you get sick. You get sick when you go to these events and you're partying all weekend and you're barely eating and sometimes doing drugs. So I completely understand why somebody who is older, like myself and like this woman who made this post, feels more anxiety and feels like she can't really enjoy the event because she has a lot of responsibility at home, and she's just, she's sober, she's thinking about everything that's going on at the crib versus trying to enjoy the moment. Some of the negatives that I read in the post as far as like getting older or with getting older has to do with anxiety, knowing that you have real responsibilities at home that you have to deal with versus when you're really young, you don't really have that much responsibility. And even if you did, it's not that serious unless you have kids at a young age. But other than that, usually you don't have too much responsibility. And as far as the positives for growing older in the scene, they mentioned that being more mature was a plus, having more money to do more things, which is something that I agree with. The older I get, the more responsible I get with my money. And, usually the older you get, the better job you get. So that means that, you have more money to do more things. Also, someone said that they had less drama in their lives and that overall they were just happy to get back to reality because they were happy with their lives in general. I thought that was really interesting because usually we use the rave life to escape our real life, and that's something too that I want to kind of stop, that culture, like that way of life, that normalcy of saying that, they just want to go to the rave and escape reality. And I get it. I want to escape sometimes too. Like, I think that that's okay, but a healthy escape. I don't think that it's okay for us to try to escape our problems to the point where we are financially in debt and we're just unhealthy and doing drugs, or we're just completely spending all of our money in order to go to these events, because it's just a headache, and it just causes and perpetuates depression. It's a vicious cycle, and the only reason why I'm talking about this is because I've been through it and I recently just got out of it. Trying to decide between going to raves or getting or starting my business, or sometimes even paying rent. I know that that's bad, but sometimes, especially when you're young, you just don't give a fuck. You're just living for the day. Carpe diem. So yeah, I thought that was really awesome that someone had mentioned a positive to being older is that you actually enjoy your life, that you can't wait to get back to your real life, that the rave is a plus. It's an awesome experience, and you spent a lot of money to go there and a lot of money to look fly, but at the end of it, you're going to be okay with going home because you're older and you're happier with your life. And I'm not trying to make it seem like when you're young you have a really shitty life. I'm just saying, from my experiences being younger, I have had some problems and I haven't had things figured out. Usually, when you're young, you don't really have things figured out. So, life is harder and you're learning, and it's just tougher. You don't have as much money. And then to add on top of it all, this intense, like, raver lifestyle, this party lifestyle, it's not a normal way of partying. We party for days at a time doing intense drugs, if you do drugs, or if you don't, you just are up for days and you're not eating as much. So it's just a really big toll on your mental stress. Also, financially, we're spending hundreds and hundreds, sometimes thousands of dollars to attend these events, and you're younger. So you're just spending so much money on these festivals and not on your future or on your dreams that you're trying to pursue to make more money. A few years ago, I was more concerned about whether or not I look silly being at a rave as an older woman or older person, and not so much by my peers but by society, by the outside world, because I never got shit from my friends. I'ma be a raver to the motherfucking day I die. Like, that's straight up. Like, that's how I feel and that's how my friends feel. But we're only in that space for a short amount of time. After the rave is over, it's back to reality and we're going back home. And, you're faced with your other friends, your non-EDM friends, and your family. And most families are not so traditional anymore because we're moving past the traditional ways of life, but they still are kind of like, they're not sure about the rave life. They don't know like what you're doing. Are you doing drugs, or are you just spending all your money on these festivals and not towards, something that's going to improve your life? So I understand that, but I was really concerned about that more so a few years ago, but now I've figured out a way to not compartmentalize my love for raves and blend it in with my everyday life. For example, I created Pretty Rave Girl. That way I get to model my own clothes and stay relevant within the scene, and at the same time make money. That way I'm not, quote unquote, like wasting my money or my time. I also created this podcast. That way I can, have an outlet and describe how I feel and talk to people and connect, and then eventually, one day make some good money from, viewers and listeners, helping people out while I'm helping myself out. So I think for myself, the way I cope with getting older, or the way I am coping currently, is I'm trying to find different ways that I can actually make money within the scene while enjoying the lifestyle. I don't feel so shitty after I go to a festival because I'm going to be wearing my clothes and promoting my brand. I don't feel like I'm wasting my time posting pictures on Instagram, being an Instagram model for the rave scene or an EDM influencer, because I am taking it seriously and trying to get hired to do more gigs and to get free, not just free merchandise, but to get clients, different rave brands, to pay me to wear their merchandise and eventually make this an actual business and actually brand myself. So like, that's how I'm coping with being older in the scene, just taking it more seriously and actually trying to make a dollar out of the things that I love. Now for you, it might be different. You might not want to be an EDM influencer, or you might not want to be an entrepreneur or sell your merchandise. If that's not the case, then I think you really just need to ask yourself, is it still for you? Is going to the festival and the raves and all that shit, like, is it you? Because sometimes people grow out of it. Sometimes you just have to throw in the towel and go look for other things. And it's not a bad thing. Sometimes it's just time for you to pivot and to do other things, start that new chapter in your life. Sometimes it's just time to move on. So if you really feel kind of like uncomfortable and you don't feel accepted, or you don't feel that connection in the space anymore, maybe it might be time for you to try a different scene. Some other things to look at is, how is your diet and exercise? I know you hear the old saying, you're only as young as you feel. So if you feel old, then it could be your diet, the way you carry yourself, the way you take care of yourself. Remember, the PLUR lifestyle is all encompassing. That means that you have to not only have peace and respect and love for your neighbor, but you also have to have that within yourself. So how are you treating your body? Like, what are you putting in your body? Those are things that you need to pay attention to, not just with the PLUR lifestyle, but just with getting older. The older you are, the easier things break and fall apart. So you got to take care of yourself. Maybe after switching up your diet and exercise, then you'd probably feel 10 times better, and you'd probably feel, young again, or feel like you have more stamina to endure a 3-day or week festival. If you have a family, I know that it can be kind of scary to think, I'm going to a festival and, you might be doing some ecstasy or smoking some weed, whatever your drug of choice is, but you might be thinking, oh, I'm not setting a good example for my kids, or you might be having all this like anxiety. And I don't have kids, but, I think to myself, when I do have kids, what type of example would I want to set? Well, I do know that when I have big responsibilities at home, I know that if I pre-plan and I take care of them and I make sure that they're good. So, for example, your kids, if you put the kids in this situation, if you make sure that your kids are taken care of, they're with their grandparents or with the babysitter or with someone that you trust over the weekend, where they're safe and that you can have fun worry-free, or not as much worry, because I know that as a parent, you're going to be constantly worrying. But, if you pre-plan your festivities and your vacations properly, then I think that you can have fun and let loose at a festival without having too much anxiety or worry about your children. And for some of you, it might be that you've just been in the scene for a very long time and you don't necessarily want to leave because you love the music and you love the community, but maybe you just need to find a new calling. In the comments, a girl had mentioned that she found a new calling as far as like her role that she played within the scene. So she became like a rave mom. As far as your group, like you could be the parent of your group and actually like take care of people. I mean, that's what the PLUR lifestyle is about anyway. Taking care of each other and having that unity and compassion for one another. So maybe you could try something out, something new, taking care of your friends and your Rave family when they're going through stuff, just making sure that everybody has their stuff, just having some responsibility within a group. I know that sounds kind of silly, but it really does make you feel important and it gives you kind of new purpose. I know that when I was in the military, when I was given the role of just squad leader or team leader, I felt really good about myself and I felt like I had new purpose. Even though it was something small, I had a responsibility. People depended on me for that thing. And I think that maybe if you could try to find some type of new purpose within your role, within your group of friends, within your Rave family, then maybe that would make you feel more secure or more comfortable with being older. Now, if you're not one of the sober people in your group, then this is probably not the role for you, but it's still a good idea anyway. Now, I want to try to be clear about what type of raves I'm talking about, and I will talk about this in another episode as far as the difference between EDM shows, raves, festivals, because honestly, there is a difference, but we kind of use the word interchangeably depending on the context of what we're talking about. So for this subject, for this episode, I'm referring to bigger events, like bigger festivals, bigger raves, more so than EDM shows or smaller concerts. Even warehouse raves, I think, what could possibly fall under the category of what I'm talking about, because there is that sense of community in like the old school warehouse type of scene. But as far as like EDM shows, like concerts, EDM clubs, that is not really what I'm talking about. If you're feeling older as far as, going to clubs, EDM clubs, I think that that's completely normal. Not to say that it's not normal for raves and festivals. I'm just saying like clubs are a little bit different. It's a whole different animal because that's just a generational thing. Clubs, you're going to just find a younger crowd regardless. Raves and festivals, that's something that is more based off of a music and a lifestyle, a PLUR lifestyle. So you're going to find all age ranges within that community. And I feel like it's easier to find your footing and to be more comfortable in that scene and that environment versus the club scene, where it's usually just some guys there to just, pick up girls, or, people just getting shit-faced and, not really caring too much about the music, but just going out to like blow some steam, not to actually build relationships and build friendships for a lifetime. So a couple things before I let you guys go. I want you to remember that as you get older, you become wiser, and you also form a new level of appreciation for this lifestyle that we live, for the music that we hear, that we're exposed to, that we have the privilege of experiencing. There's absolutely no shame in getting older, especially in this scene, within this community, because with age comes wisdom, and you have a lot to share and a lot of experience to offer younger ravers. And I mean that to my age range too. 26 is old in rave years. So to all my late 20-somethings, 30-plus ravers, just know that ain't nothing wrong with you, and you better not go anywhere. Stay your ass right here in the scene where you belong. And also, think about these old ass DJs we got playing for us. Deadmau5, Diplo. Diplo's 40, Tiesto's 50. Like, come on. If they can be old as hell in the scene, so can we. That's all I got for you. Make sure you join my newsletter at GiveMePLUR.com to get all the links to my social media pages and stay up to date with everything that I'm doing, guys. If you have any suggestions for topics for the show, or you'd like to be interviewed, make sure you email me at PLUR Podcast at GiveMePLUR.com. All right, guys. Peace, love, unity, respect. Give me PLUR out.